Awesome. Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate it. And Ari, it's great to be here. Great to be filling in. We're going to have a doc talk with no doc, unfortunately, but I think you and I will have plenty of stuff to talk about today. And very excited to, catch up, get to see what you're doing in today's world and where you've been. I've been following you on LinkedIn, and I recommend everyone else does. Ari has been traveling all over the place, giving big speeches and all that kind of stuff. So, Ari, welcome in. Great to see you. And on that note, I'd like to have you kind of talk a little bit about where you are in the world, what you've been doing, what this whole travel series is that you've been on, and a little bit about the speech that you just gave too.
Great. And yeah, thanks, Ike. Yeah, Nicholas, thank you so much for the warm introduction and everyone who's joining. If you don't know me, Ari Kaplan, instructor of a couple of the courses here, baseball analytics and sports data and AI. And yeah, we'll kick it off. I am in the midst of a 20-day round the world tour, which kicked off not too long after my other 20-day tour to where you used to live in Australia in the
That's right.
Gold Coast.
Yeah.
But I am now, what is it, about 12:30 in the morning. I am in Vilnius, Lithuania. I
Mm,
recently, going backwards chronologically, was in Amsterdam and Munich and Vienna, Salzburg, and Hallstatt, traveling, speaking on behalf of my main job, which is Databricks. It's one
hmm
of the leading data and AI companies out there. If you haven't heard of it, it's a fifth largest private company in the world now, valued at over $100 billion. But we have this main conference in June,
hmm
and um, uh, I don't know, we had 22,000 in person, 55,000 virtually signing in, but we take a mini part of that on the road. So
Okay.
most recently in Amsterdam, I had the scary task, but fun, of being the main stage keynote and then like the host for multiple hours, introducing people, keeping it going like an MC,
Yeah.
and over 3,000 people at that one. Everyone super excited about everything data AI, Gen AI.
hmm Well, I'm sure for the a number of conferences that you've attended with SMWW, you probably picked up a couple of emceeing tricks like I have from Dr. Lynn Lashbrook. So, wishing him well, and he is on the road to recovery. So make sure everyone wash their hands during the season, and with all of the travel that you're doing, I'm sure you're staying on top of that too. And that sounds like an amazing time. And what a great platform for you to be able to go out there and share what Databricks is doing, what you're doing for them, and really how AI is impacting. It seems like everything in today's world. But before we jump into that, for those that don't know you, I'd really love to have you kind of start with a little bit about your background, how you got started. You talked on what you're doing today with Databricks, but as Dr. Lashbrook always likes to do, assuming that you graduated high school, why don't you kind of take us a little bit about of who is Ari Kaplan and what got you to where you are today?
Yes, and I did graduate high school, and I don't know if you even know this, Ike, but the current manager of the nearly World Series champion Blue Jays, John Schneider, went to my
Mm,
high school, played on the same little league fields I did. He's a little bit younger than
wow.
me, so we had some of the same teachers, but
Okay. Oh my
that's
gosh, that's pretty
pretty
cool.
wild. Now
Yeah.
that you brought up high school.
Yeah, there we go.
Um,
Okay. You and John Schneider both graduated. Well, we assume John did. I would imagine he did, but we know Ari
I
did
did
for
too.
sure. So yeah, take it from there, Ari.
Yeah, Lawrence High School in New Jersey. Then I
Yep.
went to Caltech. I'll give the abbreviated notes, and then if
Sure.
you
Yeah.
want, you can drill down. But
Yeah.
right after high school, I went to Caltech, which is the California Institute of Technology. People know it for the Big Bang Theory. And
Mm-hmm.
as an undergraduate, and I don't want to date myself, but this was the late 80s, last millennium, and then some,
Mm-hmm.
just came up with better ways to evaluate baseball talent. So where you see like the letter X, really now in
Mm-hmm.
every sport, expected goals, expected wins. I came up with that concept and many others, and just got funding from my school to do a summer research project,
Mm-hmm.
and was able to just explain these better ways to evaluate player talent, to take luck out of the equation as much as possible, and caught the attention of media like the Today Show and
Mm.
LA Times and CNN and so on. And this is, I hope to give career advice on this call, but this is not something to be expected. But the general manager of the Dodgers heard about me in the media, found my phone number, and called me up. So don't expect a GM to call you up, but it did happen in my case.
But it can happen. Yeah, if you come up with something pretty epic like that, it definitely can happen.
I did hear, yeah, I have heard of actually a few other places where if you write for like baseball prospectus or fan graphs,
Hmm.
GMs and assistant GMs actually do reach out to people still. So you're right, that is
Yeah.
a tactic, but that's how I got started. And I went from being like a mega fan to
Hmm.
working. He called me up saying, "Can I go to Dodger Stadium?" So within a few hours, I was at the stadium with a notebook. Someone took a picture of me in a suit and everything, but I'm literally there from a fan with not having ever met anyone in professional
Hmm.
sports to talking to Kirk Gibson, Oral Hershiser, Eddie Murray,
Mm.
uh, and they really liked it. They're like,
Yeah.
this makes sense
Hmm.
that relievers should be evaluated for the runners they're responsible for, and how do you handle inherited runs? And Fred Clear, who's the GM of the Dodgers, still
Hmm.
friends with, at the time, said, he saw that the players really liked what I could do, that, and this is key for career, that, you're personable. They not only liked the idea, but they felt comfortable around me. And
Hmm.
so he brought me on board and ended up every couple years, which is why SMWW is so important and learning in general, is every few years, your greatest idea, if it's
Hmm.
good, the rest of the sports organization word gets around. So teams and individuals have to keep upping their career or upping their skill set or upping their competitive advantage if you're a team. So long story short, I had to change what I could offer every few years,
Sure.
created technology departments for many MLB teams. So I created like some of the expansion teams, the Rockies, the Nationals,
Hmm.
the Marlins, but then didn't stop there, became a talent evaluator. So was a major league, minor league scout, helped evaluate and assign talent. Some of my claim to fame was like Kurt Schilling and Hunter Pence. So I was like the deciding scout on those players, and then kept working my way up and was assistant to many great general managers. Dan Duquette, who also teaches
Yep.
SMWW, was with him for multiple organizations, the Expos, Red
Hmm.
Sox, Orioles. Create Probably the biggest one was creating and leading the Cubs analytics department
Right.
from its inception,
Hmm.
being a major league scout, and then that kind of became the crowning point of my career, like the Cubs, and then working as Dan Duquette's like main assistant
Yeah.
through 2013 to 2018. We made great strides, but as is, made the playoffs first time in
Hmm.
19 years and
Hmm.
3 playoff appearances. But then we had a bad year. We were entrusted with a rebuild, and then none of our contracts were renewed. So I ended up working for, these vendors, Databricks, Data Robot, now Databricks. But
Hmm.
through there, I continue on the side or through my company to work now really across many sports. So
Right.
travel the world with McLaren Formula One,
Hmm.
with race strategy was a big one. But Indiana Pacers,
Yeah.
great season last year, worked very closely with them. And through Databricks, working with the Texas Rangers, still
Mm.
do, but when the whole season when they won the World Series for the first time. But
Right. Yeah.
really
Just a
now
few
I'm a
years ago.
yeah, which was incredible. They had a
Hmm.
multi-year plan, and
Hmm.
they won it all the second year of like a 5-year plan. So it's like we're ahead of schedule, but you get, as
Yeah.
is baseball, you get lucky, uh,
Sure. Yep.
position to success, and then luck can accelerate it.
From there. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the beauty of sports. Sometimes, things rapidly accelerate on their timelines. And I'm glad that you brought up a number of the different sports that you've had the pleasure of working in. Baseball, of course, is probably what your longest tenure it is, of course. But as it relates to your studies and your work within AI, I'm really curious as to where do you see, or rather, what sport is being most impacted by AI today? And can you kind of explain why that may be?
Yeah, so first of all, AI, it's an amazing thing to get into. Overall,
Hmm.
it's a really hot field. Like Databricks is hiring over 2,000 people alone, just one company.
Wow.
Like the U.S. government, I think has over 200,000 roles they're going to be looking to hire just in the States, and this is like more of a global phenomenon.
Sure.
But the main point I stress to anyone looking to get into the game is in the past you used to be have to be a rock star, know SQL or Python, which I do teach,
Hmm.
but you
Right.
had to literally be a rock star or have like 10 years experience. But with AI,
Hmm.
it's November 12th.
Yep.
Within a couple days, 3 years ago, around like November 12th,
Hmm.
ChatGPT came out and
Oh, right. Yeah.
launched, yeah, launched the whole Gen AI craze.
Hmm.
So the reason I bring that up is at the most, you are 3 years behind. But
Sure.
really, most people with Gen AI have about 1 year or less experience. So this
Hmm.
is a great way, if you're interested in it, to uh, build your skills in AI. And at most, you're like a year behind other candidates. So
Sure.
you
Yeah.
can leapfrog. And teams, your question is what teams are best with it. Uh, more modern AI, and really
Hmm.
not many teams are. I would say baseball is the most, since they already have the most data. It's
Okay.
remarkable. The NFL, they
Yeah.
are collecting data, but they don't have people on staff to interpret it. I work with Premier League football, La
Hmm.
Liga, European football. I was just in Australia with Australian football,
Right.
Australian rugby, and they don't really have the data to
Hmm.
that would be helped by AI, but baseball already does.
And is that just because baseball has a longer history with the data collection and just kind of being more analytically focused, or what do you see as really the reasoning for that?
Yeah, they well, first of all, they have decades of data already collected. When I
Right.
say data, like motion capture data, how the
Mm.
limbs of players are moving. But in
Hmm.
other sports, maybe the NBA has it secondarily, Formula One has it maybe third, but all the other sports, the NHL, international soccer, and even the
Yep.
NFL, they don't really just have it. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And then the other is baseball teams have in their departments 20, 30, 40, or even 50 people.
Sure.
And, I'm doing work, for example, with Chelsea. And last year they had 4 people between their business analytics and their sports analytics, and they doubled it to 8 people. So they're still like a quarter, a fifth the size of Major League
Of a
Baseball.
baseball. Yeah, and that's Chelsea's easily top 10 most popular, most recognizable, soccer club in the entire world. And here they are with just 8 people compared
Yeah.
to, as you were talking about, 20, 30, 40, 50 for an MLB
Yeah.
club. So then talk a little bit about what people can do in order to get into the AI space and really analytics in general. And I'd love to have you kind of touch on what you teach in, the classes that you teach for sports management worldwide, the sports analytics and AI class, as well as your baseball analytics course. I loved how you touched on how ChatGPT just came out, about 3 years ago. So a lot of people think that they are behind the ball, but I think it's great that you said that, really we really aren't. So what can people do, to get started in that space?
Yeah, well, there's different ways to, you either self-learn, but the world's changing so quickly every few weeks. There's some new company or new capabilities. So
Hmm.
staying up on it, so there's self-learning, there's outright going to, full-time immerse yourself in a full-time college. And
Yeah.
then SMWW, I see in the comments some of you all were students, but I think well more than uh, like 80% of you, I think, are new to this all. So it's
Right.
like online. Of course, I recommend mine, but we had like I lost count. It must be 40 or more people that work in the industry haven't taken my two specific courses, but it's really what you learn. And
Mm-hmm.
in the baseball analytics, which is like the most popular one, it's focused on baseball, maybe a little more introductory. You learn like what are the use cases of data and AI in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walk through some of the key languages, like programming languages, SQL, Python, R, the visualization of it. But it is technical, but it's not like you will necessarily have to program to pass the class. It's more like
Right.
I do the typing, you are like looking as I share my screen, asking questions. I give you the code at the end. But coding's not for everyone, but you'll at least get an appreciation for what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really more like so that's part of it is the programming. The other part is like, what are the use cases? Like, how is it used to track the motion of players with this whole host of third-party technology? How can you use data and AI to better understand how do you develop players? And there's
Mm.
this whole nother opening aside from technology of people that work with player development, physical training that use this type of information. Um, and also career advice. So that's largely the baseball analytics. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
talk about how scouting is part of the game as well. But then on the sports data and AI, it's across all
Mm-hmm.
sports, and it delves really more into the AI space. So when I say AI, there's things like predictive analytics. How do you predict how a player might perform, Lionel Messi or
Mm.
Otani, how likely
Mm-hmm.
are they to get injured? So that's like predictions. But then Gen AI for sports is like super exciting to some people. So like the
Mm-hmm.
Texas Rangers, every year they keep improving their use of AI, but you can use AI to look at scouting reports, and it's the human scouts that write paragraphs of detail, and AI
Right.
can interpret, um, when they say the word deceptive, is that good or bad? Like
Oh.
scouts ramble on, what's their sentiment? And then the other cool thing AI could use is you have too much data, it's information overload, and you can take this 3D spatial data, look at a batter's swing, and you can have
Mm-hmm.
non-technical people, in this case at the Rangers, they have their general managers, not technical and
Sure.
can't program, but he could ask a question, which one of my batters has their hands extended um,
Oh.
earlier than their hip or at the point of contact. Just
Mm-hmm.
typing that in English, and
Right.
AI will find the information for him, which is
Mm-hmm.
miraculous. 2 years ago, you could not even think that's possible.
Yeah, right. And here you are being able to ask those what seem like simple questions but need complex answers into this model, and it'll be able to spit that out for you in a very easily understandable way, which is, I would imagine, pretty revolutionary. And so, on that note, I mean, if the Rangers are so far ahead of the ball game on this, where do you see other MLB clubs kind of picking up the slack there? Are you hearing anything kind of in the wings of in terms of other MLB clubs that are kind of getting to the Rangers level, or are they going to be way ahead of the ball game here for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so there are many other teams out there, Tampa Bay, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that have, I would say, similar types of analytic organizations. And
Okay.
the one interesting thing in baseball is most teams won't tell you what they're doing. The Rangers did tell most of what they're doing to the public, uh,
Mm.
and they ended up winning the World Series. But as a result, people now know their use case for Gen AI. Like
Yeah,
they actually at our Databricks summit, if you Google Rangers Databricks summit, you could watch the video on how they do it, but they detailed like their exact use cases.
sure. Okay.
Um, so now you're in a situation where some teams have the ability to do it. Other teams, I don't believe, but they're going to be catching up more quickly. Like the Rockies and White Sox only have like zero to a handful of technical people, so they're going to be laggards. But
Right.
now you're in a situation where your team and every team is asking basically the same types of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically have similar skilled people and about the same data. So what makes teams competitive is if their data science and analytics group can like re, automate their processes and
Mm-hmm.
come up with insights faster at a faster pace.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, if they can get proprietary data that other teams don't. So that's creativity. If you could
Right.
come up with new ideas. And then the third is you have a talent evaluators. It could be the analytics people, could be scouts, it could be the general manager. Then the fourth thing is
Mm-hmm.
you have an owner. Doesn't always work. Cohen, the owner of the Mets, is the richest owner that
Mm-hmm.
didn't quite work. The Dodgers have one of the top two richest owners. It did
Yep.
work since they're
Yep.
overpaying, but the ownership doesn't guarantee you'll win more, but it gives you more flexibility to take
Sure.
more risks. So that's where things happen. But people on this call, you're that first part of the equation. If you can help accelerate and democratize, meaning let non-technical people at a team get value out of their data, the information they're collecting, you're going to help that team get better evaluation. Should also add the Detroit Tigers. Done work with them. They have one of the best analytic departments out there too.
Okay. Good to know.
Small
Shout out to
budget,
Detroit. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Small
but
budget, but yeah, competitive.
hopefully impactful there too. I like that. And we do want to get to audience questions here as well. So if you guys do have questions, as Nick just mentioned at the chat, so make sure to click the raise your hand button. If you're on a laptop or desktop, you'll see it down there at the bottom of your controls. On a mobile device, I believe it's in the participants section. So if you guys do have a question, we will be happy to bring you up on screen, or you can put it in the chat and we will read it out to Ari. But Ari, I'm glad that you did talk about a lot of the MLB clubs that are expanding on their analytics, and where we'll see a lot of these MLB clubs is, of course, at the winter meetings here in Orlando in about 3 weeks now, I believe. And I wanted you to kind of talk about what those winter meetings are. You've attended a number of them, and kind of what people can get out of them, and what really kind of goes on there.
Yes, and a quick shout out, just reading the comments. Chris Groman lives in Orlando and works for the Dreamers and trying to
Yep.
bring MLB to Orlando. We had conversations around this in the class. There's expansion and moving, but um, the timing of this shop talk is perfect since
Mm-hmm.
the number one thing you could and should do for the whole year is attend the winter meetings. If you're either on the lookout now for a career or you want to think about it in the coming years, it's like the best place to network.
Yeah.
Um, and there are two aspects to it. There's the Major League Baseball winter meetings, which the public doesn't really have access to, but there are the hotel lobbies where hundreds of people at a time till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And you will be shocked. You will have access to front office personnel,
Mm-hmm.
Major League Baseball, like last year, Nelson Cruz, Pedro Martinez,
Yeah.
like they were all just like hanging out at the bar. And you know what? You could walk up to them.
Absolutely.
Pedro
Nelson
Jones,
Cruz came up to us too. We got a great group photo with him. Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Adam Jones, I'm missing people, but like the mega agents, they're just at the
Mm-hmm.
bar. And if they're at the bar, that means they are open for people to walk up to them. So don't be shy. So
Yeah.
that in the front office to network, um, job seek, there's get-togethers, meetups. But then there's the SMWW event held at the
Hmm.
same time, and it's it's like insanely good. And yes, I do work with them, but um, in all honesty, when I worked with the Cubs for many years and then the Orioles, even though I already had a career, I was like near the top. I would still go every year to this conference since it's organized with, uh, you know, shorter uh, panel or an
Hmm.
individual talking, and then a Q&A in each of the topics. First of all, I always learn, I still learn from every single presenter. Dave
Oh yeah.
Roberts,
Hmm.
the world champion manager came recently. You got players sometimes, Jim Duquette from
Hmm.
broadcasting, former Mets and Orioles GM. But you hear and learn from them. People ask questions and they kind of hang out in the hallway afterwards. But it's just like a great format. Like none of them are super long and boring. They're like perfectly timed, and one is a player, one is my panel will be analytics,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
something in agents, something in marketing, something in player development, maybe something in media, and it's just that pace. And then the night before is a social, and
Hmm.
like everyone it becomes like one big family. So that is super highly recommended, both for a career and just getting a feel for the different aspects of the game. And that's in Orlando, and a lot of people just do that, but a lot of people
Yeah.
do the SMWW conference, and
Hmm.
then it's not just me hanging out in the lobby, but Ike and Dan Duquette and Dan Evans, former Dodger GM.
Hmm.
Um, we're all kind of there to hang out with throughout
Yeah.
the week.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Yeah, Dr. Lashbrook, Oscar Suarez, the whole lot of the baseball faculty will be there, and we hope to see a lot of you there as well. It'll be December 7th through 9th in Orlando. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Plus, at least for Portland, Oregon, I'm very happy to get down to Orlando. So
Yeah.
especially in December. So that'll be great. And speaking of Orlando, we are going to get to our good friend Chris, who is in Orlando. Chris, welcome in. Let's bring you up on screen and have you introduce yourself. We know you're in Orlando, but what brings you into today's chat, and what is your question for Ari?
Yeah, so as they said, I'm in Orlando. It's actually a frosty 55 degrees, which is really
Oh,
cold for us. So
yes, that is
had
cold.
to
Yep.
take the North Face jackets off of the rose bushes, actually wear it into work today. I actually am currently in a AI program at Wake Forest. We're
Okay.
actually our first project was actually taking NASCAR results and predicting winnings using Python and Copilot. So that's where we're going. I've also taken Ari's course in the past. That was about 2 months ago. I think I finished that, and then got a job with the Orlando Dreamers, which is Ari said is a group trying to bring Major League Baseball to Orlando. So like I get to today I actually was on the call with Johnny Damon. We're trying to get him to
Wow.
do some spring little league stuff where he teaches kids how to catch fly balls. So that's like trying to get community engagement. Anyway, my question for you, Ari, is as more and more teams are adopting AI and stuff like that, and this might be a little past what you were hoping for in a question, but you had mentioned like, maybe they get some special data that only they have. What are other ways you're seeing these different organizations differentiate themselves? Is like, clearly they're going to start coming to similar conclusions as everyone else. So other than
Hmm.
speed, what are other things you see teams doing to kind of like get different results or different answers or otherwise look a different direction than everyone else who's using AI?
Yeah. So yeah, I already covered some of that, like better scouting. But when I said more creation and innovation, there's this technique that was, I guess, my secret sauce for many years, where everyone has the same information, but it's called feature engineering. It's like what areas of the information have actionable insights, by the way that you can combine it. So, like in the finance world, um, if you have price, that predicts the stock. If you have earnings, that predicts the stock. But price per earning predicts the stock even better than the individual. And that is like something AI is like hard to figure out. But a human coming up with like what combinations of information exist that's more predictive. So for example, Jake Arrieta, pitcher we were looking at with the Cubs, we saw, we scouted him in when he came, played against the White Sox, and we realized he wasn't quite effective, but he used to throw a pitch. He moved to his new team, and for whatever reason, we believed it was his pitching coach told him to not throw that pitch. So we thought, and he didn't do as well as he used to. So we thought he could be a bounce back candidate if we reintroduce the pitch that we thought was good. So that is like feature engineering. Like, don't just look at what they did in the past, like come up with new what if scenarios. Or another could be, like if a player's injured, how can you better determine if they bounce back or not? And that's using combinations. It's called the knowledge base or an expert system, something AI is not very obvious with. Like another example is evaluating defensive capabilities. Johnny Damon or what have you. What was his defensive capability? Derek Jeter, half of fans said he sucked at defense, others said he was the best ever. But how can you quantify it? And Major League Baseball, and every team uses the same, how quickly do you pivot turn a double play, or what velocity do you throw a ball? But there's still creativity in evaluating defensive capabilities. So teams that get creative and have coders that could code that creativity into programs, that's hard to do with AI. And if you're a pure programmer, it's hard to be creative. And if you're a pure baseball person, it's easy to be creative, but hard to program. So you need each of them. So that's it's called feature engineering. That is kind of like where teams can get advantages.
Okay, very good. Chris, thank you very much for your question. Appreciate it. Let's go to Michael. Michael, welcome in. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from and fire away with your question.
Hi, Ari. Thank you for the time. My name is Michael Shopoff. I'm in Houston, Texas. And I just finished a graduate degree in sports management with the analytics focus from Northeastern, looking to get into the industry. I think the winter meetings is a great opportunity, and I'll be there with the sports management conference. But in doing that networking, how do you best showcase yourself from an analytical perspective? Is it presenting what ideas you may have that you might think you have to offer, or something beyond spouting off your resume?
Yeah, a great question. And I also see in the comments, Benjamin and Kelly also started giving similar questions. So like at the well, first of all, before the conference, highly recommended to go to teamworkonline.com, and they give some job openings. But whether there's a job opening or not, and start applying and saying I'll be at the winter meetings. But a lot of jobs kind of just start opening up a week or two before the winter meetings. So just start reaching out to teams saying, I'm going to be there. Everyone has a brand. So just, maybe mention who you are. Like if there is an open role saying I'm interested in this role, if there's not one, then just say, yeah, I'm looking to get into baseball operations or whatever it is you're looking to do. I will be at the winter meetings. I'd love to meet with you for 5 to 10 minutes. People are busy, and then it always ends up being 15 to 20 minutes. So my first point is before you even go, just start reaching out to as many people realistically as you can, just saying that you'll be there. And then you may get nobody responding. You may get a few people. I do have, like, to be honest, so many of the students or even people that aren't students that reach out actually do get meetings. It's easier than it was years ago since teams actually have openings that they're looking to fill. If you do have a specific skill, like in programming, you could mention it. If you don't have a specific skill, you could highlight, you're great at talent evaluation or organization, but basically, you want to communicate in one sentence, maybe two, like who you are, at something interesting about yourself, since they're going to get dozens of people kind of coming at them. And if you feel like you could add some value to them, hey, you just finished this sports analytics program at Northeastern in your case, and everyone else listening, whatever that happens to be. But then, if you have a meeting, great, you're off to the races. If you don't have a meeting, it's going to be walking around like the lobbies. I also recommend like looking at LinkedIn to just and try to memorize or have a printout of people's faces. So when you look around the lobby, you can just go and say, hey, aren't you person X with the Nationals? And they're not super well known. They would love hearing that. Like, wow, this person knows me. And then, just introduce yourself and, networking is the majority of it at the winter meetings. Finding what jobs are open is the next part. And then, the final part would probably be you go through a formal interview process. But, the point is, like, I've been on the hiring end. I go to, so let's just say I'm with the Orioles. I'm looking to hire somebody to help with baseball operations. Ben Jedlovic, who actually became the superstar in Major League Baseball, was started out with my intern. But yeah, he had some skills, but it was really just like a really cool person that I thought could help me out. And it's hard to quantify, but just somebody that you could be willing to that would be productive for you, but that you could hang out with and be personable, and they could listen to you and maybe come up with ideas of their own. Like, that was me. So someone self-driven, but everyone wants to, whether it's baseball or not, work with somebody that they kind of get along with personality wise.
I liked
Great.
it.
Just one,
Go
can I
ahead.
just ask one
Yeah,
quick
please.
follow-up there? When you say to reach out to folks ahead, what's the best level to try and reach out at? Is it the AGM level? Is it, a level below?
Yeah, all depends on the role. I personally I would go for the GM. Really, the most people that reply are the assistant GM, or like either the director of analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Those are and director of analytics sometimes they're the assistant GM of analytics. Sometimes they're VP of strategy. They're all kind of interrelated. Manager of baseball analytics. That's more like on the more hardcore math statistics. But then there's like performance science. If you're more into biomechanics, and then oftentimes there's like a sports science title to reach out to them. But in general, I would say assistant GM or like director of analytics is the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But still reach out to the GMs. The worst they do is say no. But
Yeah.
I've heard people reach out to a GM, and when I was looking for a job, I don't know if people heard of Terry Ryan. He was the GM of like the Twins and a couple other teams. I literally looked his number up on the website, and I
Mm.
called it, fully expecting to get an administrative assistant. And I had a
Mm-hmm.
pitch in my head. I had it written out to his admin, and I called the number on the website, and it picks up, "Hi, it's Terry Ryan." And I'm like stammering, like he literally picked up.
Yeah,
And he ended
was
up
not
hiring
expected.
too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's awesome. Michael, great question. And one other bit of advice that I would give in terms of the winter meetings when you're there is sign up for the baseball industry network meetup. Looks like you've already done that, so that's definitely something else to keep in mind for those that haven't heard about that. So that'll be a great event on Tuesday morning. But yeah, thank you very much, Michael, and thanks for joining us. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah. All right, and let's get to Arturo. Arturo, welcome in. Go ahead and unmute your mic. Introduce yourself. Where are you from, and what is your question for Ari?
Sure. Thank you very much. Quick introduction. My name is Arturo Martinez Herrera. I'm originally from Honduras, but I'm based out of Central PA. Currently, I'm a youth soccer coach and athletic operations assistant. And currently, I am enrolled in the SMWW soccer analytics course.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, you mentioned something about Chelsea doubling, I believe it's AI department. Soccer is such a fluid, low-scoring sport that it's harder to model with AI. So what kind of lessons from other data-rich sports like baseball or basketball do you think could help make AI more effective in soccer analytics?
Yeah, and
Question.
Chelsea had people across business analytics, data engineering, and analytics, and that was only 8 people across like everything. So I think they had one actual like data scientist, someone who can make predictive analytics, 2 data engineers, and then the other thing advice is almost everyone student I talk to wants to get in on the sports side, and there's a whole nother department at every team. And in fact, at the NFL, I spoke at the very first NFL Business Analytics Conference. I was the only non-NFL person to speak there, but every NFL team has an analytics department for the business side. So ticket pricing, merchandising, marketing, analytics, and it's easier to get into that side. And once you're in there, maybe you can move over if you like sports. So big advice is to just get your foot in the door. Try the sports side if that's your passion, but in parallel, do the business side just to get in the door. But yeah, to the point that baseball has a ton of data. Largely, it's like individual players. There is some interrelation of like defense playing with each other, but by and large, like easier to do analytics, a lot of scoring. But yeah, soccer, a lot of games could be 1-0. So if you're just predicting who will score a goal, that's hard to do. Same thing with the NFL, only 16 games in the season. So there you have to expand what you're trying to accomplish. So the next one out is making a quality shot on goal. So whether it went in or not, did the ball get to a position where there's even a chance? And then but yeah, there could be about 30 of those opportunities a game versus 0, 1, or 2 goals. But even that isn't that much money, much opportunity, since you use the great word fluid. And like players are moving around in formations. So one of the analysis in like the more fluid games, I put the NBA, the NHL, but certainly soccer is, like how do formations of players increase the likelihood of moving the ball downfield? But then there's analytics on things that might be human nature, like how are their passing skills? How's their footwork? What are their tendencies? Do they tend to favor the left foot or the right foot? Like Lionel Messi, when he runs downfield, he has incredible acceleration, deceleration, but the ball is no more than 4 feet from him, like a little more than 1 meter the entire time. It's very close to that, means he has more control of the ball. So those are ideas like that. Feature engineering, Chris and I's conversation was like, you make a new feature. What percent of time is the ball within 4 feet of you? What percent is it within 5 feet, 6 feet? And then you get a characteristic of a Lionel Messi, and then you can use Gen AI to look at 1 million high school players from around the world, and just see who exhibit similar skills to Lionel Messi. And then even then, that's there's 20 ways to be good at soccer. Messi's just one of them. So you want to make different portfolios of players and try to use AI to make these similarity scores. But yeah, with that fluid dynamic, it makes it much, much harder.
Do you have any
Yep, I
follow-up
understand that.
question to that, Arturo, or are you all set?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So, Ari, tell me about we had already touched on a little bit about your early career, but for those that are looking to break into the industry, I think that you've talked about is that sense of kind of adaptability, but what are some of the kind of skills and experiences that really helped you in your young career that you've kind of held on to and really, have kind of flourished and blossomed with as you've progressed through your career? And, what are some of those teachings that you can kind of pass along to those that are looking to break in?
Yeah, so I see a comment by Chris saying, which I relate to when I was younger. He got his job by being persistent,
Hmm.
made a mistake of leaving an Orlando Dreams address on their website, and he kept emailing it ideas for the team and resume every week till they interviewed him. So
There we
for
go.
me, it was persistence until I got a job. But my first job, the GM reached out to me. But
Sure.
my persistence was more, I would ask, there are two ways you could help a team. One is they tell you, here's something we need. We need to be able to get this report or this type of information. So they already know what they need, and they need you as a worker to achieve that. And then the other thing is being proactive, where they entrust you to come up with ideas they're not thinking of. And sometimes they don't entrust you at all. Sometimes they're just like, here's all this busy work, and that's all you're going to do. But it's up to you to be persistent, work extra hours if you need to, and come up with new ideas that you think would be helpful, and then politely and humbly approach the person and say, I was looking at this information and I noticed, this player's has some tendency I noticed. Did you notice it too? Or,
Mm,
be, kind of cooperative like that. And if they like the idea, then they're going to like you, since you're coming up, you're helping the team, or you're maybe um, makes them look good, in that, like, you don't want them to steal your idea, but they look at you as somebody to say, hey, this person that's on my team came up with a great idea. Just it would make him as a leader, or her as a leader, just appear more like team oriented. So either you do what ask, how can I help, and do what people specifically want, and at the same time be persistent to come up with new ideas
I
and
like that.
present it.
Yeah, that's good. It's something that will always transcend, time, industry. It doesn't really matter. Persistence is key, and innovating, and coming up with new ideas. So I like that. That's good. I think Dr. Lashbrook would really want me to ask about the salary cap for baseball. He and I have been having a long conversation about
Yeah.
the impact on the potential for a salary cap, and we've already talked about the Dodgers a couple of times, as well as the Mets and some of these teams that are blowing out salary caps, or payrolls rather, and all that kind of stuff. So, kind of give me your opinion on the role of a potential salary cap within Major League Baseball, and even more so, how might that change kind of the analytical space, do you think, within MLB?
Yeah, it's interesting, having worked in Formula One, where they have
Hmm.
not only salary caps, but they regulate what equipment goes on a car. They
Right.
regulate how much money can you spend on salaries of employees. They
Hmm.
regulate how many wind tunnels can you have to test the aerodynamics. So that's
Right.
the most extreme, like, they have inspectors, all up and down, quality control. So there it's like, super hard to get an advantage. But
Hmm.
then there's a while where, and the reason they did that is some teams would overspend and they would win every year, and it got so boring, fans would
Yep.
tune out.
Yep.
Um, and
Mercedes during
then,
the
yeah,
teens and Red Bull over the last, 5, 6 years, all that. Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
then they almost made it too equal that it almost got boring. So that they're fine tuning it. So baseball wants to find a balance
Hmm.
where um, you get, you mentioned the Dodgers and the Mets for an example, and the Blue Jays were amazing. They got uh, had 20 chances to win it all, but just to be into the World Series with a
Right.
payroll that was much less than the Dodgers,
Hmm.
something just shows that money isn't everything. When Dan Duquette and I were with the Montreal Expos, we had by far the lowest payroll and the
Hmm.
best record in the game. And the Tampa Bay Rays have shown lower salary, you can be competitive. But that being said, uh, you know, throw in the Yankees, probably missing a team or two. Um, but if you have just a handful of teams that can overspend, it's
Hmm.
going to, get boring in that, not arguably boring in that if these teams just keep making the final round of the playoffs in the World Series every year,
Right.
fans of the other 75% of baseball are going to be frustrated and tune out. How fun is it if you're the Mariners and you never make the World Series in another 30 years? That's going to
Right.
tune off a lot of fans. So baseball won't want to see that. And that's why either a full out salary cap or
Hmm.
increasing luxury spend or luxury tax uh,
Sure.
is one of the levers baseball has to pull.
Yep.
And then, on the other end, like when you're in Formula One, it's called the Walk of Shame. You go from the first paddock, which is the
Yep.
first place, and as you keep walking, you end up with the bottom two teams. Uh,
Hmm.
Same thing in baseball is you end up with like the Pirates, the White Sox, percent of money they reinvest in the team is super low.
Is low. Hmm.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
baseball, it's a problem on the owners that don't spend as well. That kind
Yeah.
of on the luxury tax. So it needs to be fixed.
So
Um,
if you are looking into your crystal ball, then what is your prediction there? Or even better said, if you were the czar of MLB and whatever you says go, what is Ari Kaplan going to do to help fix this proposed or supposed rather salary cap problem?
Yeah, so I don't know if you knew, but there's a book that recently came out with by Jane Levy,
Okay.
um, that's called "If I Were the Commissioner," and it asks that question. And I was interviewed for the book,
Okay, there we
and
go.
there's a lot. Like I think cheating in many formats still goes on.
Hmm.
Gambling is,
Sure.
as we see, is a major problem.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd have to do an economic study, but yeah, I would implement either an outright cap or
Hmm.
make an accelerator for, like, if you spend above that limit, you
Yeah.
have to do luxury, which is happening. But if you go even more, you have to pay like exponentially more.
Like an apron style, like what the NBA is kind of doing with, and then you lose the ability to trade players and use different types of exceptions and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or draft picks, if you
Yeah.
lose or bounce down, you get penalized to go way over. So the rich teams have a choice. Do I pay extra money and lose draft pick or lose something else? Home
Yeah.
field advantage. I don't know what it is, but or spend that extra money.
Hmm. Yeah. If this is my window, do I want to invest it, the short term gain for potentially long term pain? I would imagine as an owner, it's a pretty tough, discussion to be having and a very weighty decision to say the least. Um, Well, we're coming up here to the end, and I did see there was one other question with a hand raised. I believe it was with Juan, but I don't see the question anymore. So if there are any other questions for Ari, please do raise your hand or drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I am going to kick it over to my colleague, Mikhail, who will be kind of wrapping up today's conversation, telling you all about our SMWW classes, our offerings, the Baseball Career Conference, and all those good things. And Ari, I know it is very late for you. I believe it's now 1:30. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for sticking around with us and having a great conversation with us. So with that, I will kick it over
Thanks.
to Mikhail or Ari. Do you have anything in closing that you'd like to say?
Well, I want to give time to other people, but no, thanks. I've been reading the comments as well. Appreciate everyone. Hopefully I'll see many of you in Orlando.
Yes,
And if
definitely.
not, I love connecting on LinkedIn, and wishing you all the best in your sports journey.
I
Thanks
love
for
that.
taking the time
Yes,
with us tonight.
absolutely. Likewise. All right. Well, now let's get it over to Mikhail and to Nick, and we will take it from there. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ike.
Ari.
Yep.
Thanks, Ari. All right. Well, thank you guys, first of all, for coming in this doc talk with Nick, Ike, and Ari. And it was super. I didn't even know, Ari, that you worked in so many sports, to be honest. I thought it was just strictly baseball. So the fact that you worked in Formula One, I'm a big Formula One fan. Red Bull, sorry. Max Verstappen, he's a he's a force in nature. But then also, I didn't realize that you worked in soccer as well, and so which is it's and that's why, all of you guys here, you all have different sports backgrounds, so you can really um you know implement analytics and AI in any sport. So um all right, you said, oh, and McLaren was your team, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Mario Andretti and his race team. He wasn't the driver, it's now his kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
They pull out adults as well.
Yeah, I used to work with Al Unser Jr.,
Wow.
in the 500 legend. Still do a little bit of some projects with him. I mean, the amount of training and what they put their bodies through, believe it or not, is it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that
I
pit movie
digest.
with F1 is worth it. Yeah.
Oh, F1 was, I try to go at least once a year to, a Grand Prix. I grew up in Europe, so I went to Monaco. Pretty much my parents took me to the Monaco Grand Prix every year. So, which is amazing. I love Formula One and just, but it changed, like you said, right? There is a salary cap now, and Red Bull got caught spending a little bit more than everybody else, and they only were allowed to use that wind tunnel for an X amount of time period throughout the season, which really um, didn't affect them in a way because they still won the championship at that time. But less practice in the wind tunnel, it's gonna, it could be impactful, right? Especially if you're trying to win another championship. Um, yeah, and obviously analytics in Formula One. I mean, if you guys ever watch a race, I mean, it goes so deep, so deep. It's unbelievable. Those race engineers is unbelievable. Anyway, guys, yeah, so I see some of you guys already started already signed up for Ari's class, upcoming class. But not if you just want to work in sports. We also offer, if some of you guys feel like, hey, you know what, I want to get a higher education, I want to get my master, my doctorate degree. We do offer that as well, our CC program through Concordia University in Chicago. And then Nick, you have some more information on that as well. But yeah, all of our courses are 8 weeks. And then depending which course, it's usually once or twice a week that you'll meet with your instructor. All of our Zoom sessions are recorded, so if you can't make it, life happens. You can always rewatch it in your own time. I teach several classes on the soccer side of it. The FIFA agent prep course and the soccer agent course. I have several instances where students they couldn't make it because they had to work overtime but their feedback is amazing because they can just rewatch it when they come home or the next day. And And they still are able to ask me questions, right? Or you can ask Ari questions via email, or so there's, we're always available for you guys, right? At the end of the day, your success is our success, and that's really what we do as a company, and really strive for, right? So yeah, if you guys are interested, if one of us will actually reach out to you within the next 48 hours, I would say. And if you guys do have any further questions and want to talk more about, the analytical side of sports, or if you want to go in a different direction, right? Right now the NFL is halfway done. The MLB, Major League Baseball is done. They're all looking to hire. So if you guys want to get into sports, whether it be baseball or the NFL or soccer here in the MLS, it's almost the end of the season. Now it's a time really to to get your butt moving really, and get into it while you can. All right. Any questions for you guys? Or Nick, you have anything to add to it?
Yeah. Yeah, while we're waiting for questions. I mean, it's not just like professional sports organizations in the United States. I mean, you
Mhm.
got all over the world. I mean, Ari has talked about his time with the Premier League over across the pond. You got places there, you got places in Asia, and you can even go down to the amateur levels in college. Each because of how NIL has kind of shifted the landscape and how sports is being operated at a youth and collegiate level, they're now forcing these universities to go into a more front office style, which means there's more opportunities for you to get into an analytics department there as they're starting to build it up from the ground zero. And remember, this isn't something that's been established for 25 plus years. This is something that's kind of new. So it's a great way to get into the industry that way as well. And I can tell you there's a lot more colleges with multiple sports teams than there are in professional teams as well. So if you think of the sheer volume of odds to get into a program as well, that is something you got to also take consider. And if you excel as well, then you can move up the ranks and you see teams all the time hiring the professional levels from ex-college coaches or analytics department members as well. And sometimes in a college you do need to have some sort of master's in order to work there. That's why, as Mikkel alluded earlier, that master's in sports leadership, it's less than 15K. You can complete it in about a year, about 12 to 15 months, depending on how many courses you want to take at a time. We waive your application fee, which is about a $250 value. We have career advisors help you get your sort of documents in. And we actually have close relations with someone who works really closely with the CUC registrar's office that will be able to kind of help you guide your process as well. So you don't have to just help streamline everything as much as possible. And, being able to network. Part of our curriculum is informational interviews. Reaching out to someone and said, hey, I'm taking Ari's class with baseball analytics. I'd love to get 10 minutes of time. I personally took Ari's class last year, and I got a interview with the director of research and development for the Seattle Seahawks, Patrick Warren. Now, again, not in my sport, but he taught doing that informational process. I learned a lot of valuable stuff about being able to do free work in order to showcase your skills as well. And that's something that you can kind of think is common sense, but being able to hear from someone who has baited is something that's very valuable. And then on the flip side, I got to meet with the manager of scouting for the Washington Nationals, Daniel Kaplan. No relation to Ari, but and I was able to speak with him as well. And he was sharing the stuff about like, hey, we just had a long game. I gotta go. Or the coach is asking me to fix CJ Abrams. Like he's not hitting at a higher clip than he should be. Now I got to go into the research and go kind of figure out what he's doing and how to help the player development department orchestrate that. And that's just like a small glimpse into what the industry is like. And like Ari said, you can go analytics in both the sports side and the business side. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. You just have to take the leap of faith. If you ask 1,000 people for an informational interview and you get one or two, that's two more that you had previously. And that's every time you have say a no, that's one more opportunity to say yes, to get a yes as well. So is there any other questions before we close out today?
Well, I think real quick, all the career conference that we host, right? The MLB winter meetings that are coming up. Like Ari said, the hotel bar, right? You ran into Pedro Martinez, some of the biggest names in baseball, and we have our football career conference, NFL career conference, which is in Indianapolis during the NFL Combine, right? We're staying at the same hotel as all the players and all the technical staff from all the teams. you know, in the morning get coffee, and then you're in line with the entire NFL staff, right? So it's you know, it's you're rubbing elbows with people that you normally don't rub elbows with, especially if you want to work in the industry. I highly recommend attending our career conferences. It could really be a game changer, not just for the sheer information that we share throughout the actual conference itself, but just the people that you can actually meet.
Absolutely. And I put our part of email in there. That's a great way to reach out, info@smww.com. Then I also put our office number there if you want to be able to speak with someone directly as well. We're in the office during business hours, and we'll love to have any of your questions, give out free career advice, because that's why we have our career advisors here on staff to be able to do. For those who are wondering, the baseball analyst course is starting up coming soon, November 24th. And then the sports analytics and AI course will be starting on January 12th. Across the new year after the winter meetings as well. So if we're going through that process, just kind of, you know, keep that in mind while you're going through, and then we'll be able to go through the necessary steps and be able to assist you. Again, give us a call. If you don't have, if you just want free career advice and, you know, what's a good path for you, we have people on staff that are, you know, their job is to do that as well. So be able to utilize that as well. So, with that being said, I don't think there's many questions. So I think this is a good place to wrap up. So Ari, thank you again for coming on. I know it's very late over there and you're in the middle of a grind right now. But thank you for your dedication.
I love what I do, so great to be here.
He's still up because he's jet lagged. That's why he's
yeah, exactly.
Maybe sleeping at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Mikkel, thank you for coming on, for helping out here, and then Ike as well for filling in for Dr. Lashberg. And Ari, we'll see you in Orlando here in less than a month.
Can't wait.
Very excited.
All right, guys.
Hope you guys have a great rest of your days.